oh, this is gonna be good. I was just searching for a good suggested video. I had a couple people talking about my damn shaved face and shit. First of all, my facial hair is magnificent, but I have to shave because I got a couple bumps on my face. I mentioned that before, and I don't want to cut them, so I gotta wait till they heal and shit, and then we're gonna get back to shaving. But things you don't know about Genghis Khan. This is gonna be great. I know a lot of things about Genghis Khan, mostly about the raping and the killing. You know, but Genghis Khan, Mongolian people from the steppe, you know, outside of China. Play.
He killed an estimated 40 million people. He founded the Mongol Empire. He might have a little of his DNA in you. He is Genghis Khan. Today we're going to talk about things you didn't know about Genghis Khan. But before we get started, subscribe to our channel, Weird History. Leave us a comment and let us know what historical figure you want us to cover next. First things first, you've heard his name hundreds, if not thousands of times before, but there's a very good chance you've never heard it pronounced correctly. While most Westerners say Genghis with a hard G, that's incorrect. In Mongolia, the G is soft, so it's actually pronounced like this, Chinggis.
Chinggis.
But we're going to go with Genghis today because
Genghis
that's what
Khan.
you're used to.
That's cool.
What does it mean? Well, there's no
Why would you
historical...
tell us we're doing it wrong, then continuously do it wrong? Don't be scared to set us straight. If we don't know, it's not that we don't want to know. Because I'll forget.
Consensus,
God
but
damn it.
Khan means ruler or king.
Yeah.
Genghis, or to be 100% accurate, Chinggis, is believed to mean stern or fierce. So Genghis Khan means stern or fierce king. The confusion goes all the way back to spelling and pronunciation getting lost in European translation. Since we're on the topic of names, Genghis Khan wasn't his name either, despite what you were taught in junior high and most, if not all, of high school. The man who would unite the Mongol tribes was actually born Temujin, meaning of or from iron, while Jin denotes agency. Thus, if you break it down, Temujin means blacksmith.
Oh, that's actually really
His name was said to have come from a tattered tribesman who had been captured and brought home by the boy's father. The name Genghis Khan wasn't given to Temujin until 1206, when he was 44 years old, as part of his coronation as the king of all Mongols.
And they're more like supreme ruler of the universe and all things, but yeah, king. That's good too.
Most of what we know about young Temujin comes from the secret history of the Mongols, an anonymous record of the early days of the United Khanate. According to that book, written for the Khan's successors, Temujin was born sometime in 1162 on the banks of the Anin River. His father, Yasuge, was the chieftain of the Borjigin clan, the ruling class of the Mongol tribes. If you believe the legend, Temujin was born clutching a blood clot in his fist, an omen that he was destined to be a great
That's
leader.
pretty dope.
Whether that's true is actually
sick.
anyone's guess.
Really?
For someone who radically altered the world's population with his very own DNA, we'll get back to that in a bit, Temujin's first son may not
Look
even
how fucking
have been
big that map
his.
is. Crazy.
It all started when his father arranged a marriage for him and delivered him at age 9 to the family of his future wife in order to cement alliances between the Angevins and the Mongols. Here's where things get messy. On his way home after delivering his son to the Borts, Temujin's father ran into the neighboring Tatars, who had long been Mongol enemies, and they assassinated him.
Ooh.
When young Temujin heard about his father's death by poisoning, he returned home to claim his position as tribe's chief, but they denied the kid and abandoned his family, leaving them without protection. After several years of hardship and slavery, Temujin finally married Bort.
He was
but the
enslaved,
bad
really?
news kept coming. Not long after the marriage, Bort was kidnapped by the Merkit, a rival tribe, and she was reportedly given away as a wife.
Whew.
Temujin rescued her several months later, and she gave birth to a son, Joki, 9 months after her rescue. The timeline of Joki's birth was iffy at best. Was Joki Temujin's legitimate firstborn son, or was Bort impregnated when she was kidnapped?
Right.
It's something we'll probably never know, but Joki grew up to become a great military leader nonetheless, even though he was excluded from Genghis's line of succession.
That is a super interesting story. How did it not come up that he was like enslaved and we had to go rescue his wife and shit? That's insane.
We know of Joki, the son who may or may not have been the first son of Genghis Khan. We also know of 8 other sons and daughters Temujin had with Bort. But that's not the extent of Genghis's offspring, not by a long shot. While married to Bort, Temujin took a number of other wives, far too many to name here. While many of these women were taken as war trophies, At least one woman, Princess Chigu, was married to Genghis Khan as a gift of sorts in exchange for relieving the Mongol siege upon Jianghu. In short, it's uncertain which, if any, of these marriages were consensual, although it's certain his spouses bore him numerous children, including a number of daughters whose names weren't even recorded.
Ooh.
As famous and infamous as Genghis Khan is, very little is known about his personal or physical appearance.
How would you know what anybody looked like that long ago? You had no idea. Them statues and shit and those paintings, you have no idea if them shits are accurate, dude. Most of them shits are not.
No contemporary portraits or sculptures of him survive, and what is written about him at the time is practically revisionist history. The little we do know about Genghis Khan describes him as tall and strong with a flowing mane of blonde hair, blue eyes, and a bushy beard. But 14th century Persian chronicler Rashid al-Din claims Genghis had red hair and green eyes. Al-Din
never mind. So y'all mean we really don't know what he looks like.
Never met the Khan in person, but these striking features were not unheard of among the Mongols.
Yeah, so we don't have any idea. I got you.
You hear the name Genghis Khan, and the first things your imagination conjures up are probably
death,
brutish acts of mass destruction, barbarism, and bloodlust. All of those things are a big part of Genghis Khan's story. But he was quite the innovator, too. He created the Yam route, which was an efficient postal system meant to send written orders to the far-flung outposts of his empire. He also adapted an official script in 1206 upon his election as Khan. And while he was very likely illiterate, Genghis Khan kept written books of his laws, a complex and far-reaching system of edicts called the Yasa. Of course, for any good he did, he soured by destroying countless works of art, priceless artifacts, cultural sites, and other various precious objects.
I was talking to Skid about this too, which is why I laughed, is because when I was talking to Skid, I was like, man, this guy preserves a ton of culture, he spread religion. Like, Genghis Khan's impact is like renowned for how open he was about ideas and, you know, and where other Mongols were really rejecting a culture, he accepted those, and that's what helped him excel when building such a large empire while keeping respect of people, because you can't just kill everybody you come in contact with. You have to have some kind of relationship to help actually govern and run places. And she was so mad because she was talking about like how many like temples and churches and priests that he would kill, and like I was like, yeah, it's a lot. But at the same time, he also preserved a lot of things too, because if it wasn't him who did it, somebody else probably would have did it anyways. So for all the things that he destroyed, he guaranteed that the things he preserved would stay preserved throughout history, you know, which is kind of an incredible feat. But yeah, he's a bad man. I figure everybody knows
Chinese,
that,
Russian, Persian, and Muslim traditions of sculpture and painting were subjugated, and their masters almost always were killed.
Of course.
While other Mongol leaders appreciated...
But he would keep skilled workers. You know, if you were a skilled worker, he wanted skilled workers. He wanted artisans and blacksmiths and, you know, whoever, whatever. It's just everybody else is useless. That's all.
The cultures of the sedentary people they wiped out, the Mongols themselves left little in terms of cultural heritage and almost no written works. Genghis Khan probably enjoyed the sight of blood, but he was also a man of his word. Take, for example, the time he honorably murdered the Mongol military and political leader and childhood pal, Jemuka. According to the secret history of the Mongols, Jemuka was eventually betrayed to Temujin by his followers in 1206. The first thing Temujin did was execute Jemuka's betrayers on basic principle. Betrayal merits the worst punishment imaginable. Then Temujin offered Jemuka a renewal of the brotherhood, but Jemuka refused. He insisted that just as there was only room for one sun in the sky, there was room only for one Mongol lord.
Wow.
Instead, Jemuka asked to be executed by dying a noble death without the spilling of blood. Temujin honored his request by having his soldiers snap Jemuka's spine. It's said that Temujin then buried Jemuka with the golden belt that he had given to him when they had formed their bond of brotherhood. Pretty dramatic on the Khan's part. Sounds like something a young George Lucas would have written in the mid-70s.
That's a greatly edited section there. He snapped his back, bro? Damn. You gotta be a bad motherfucker to be like, yeah, my homies are real killers. Snap his back. And the homie's like, I got you, fam. I know how to break people's backs until they die. I got you. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Most of his generals were former foes.
One of the great things about Genghis Khan was that he had an eye for talent and choosing people for leadership roles. Take, for example, Jebe. During the 1201 Battle of the 13 Sides against the Taeju tribe, Genghis got hit in the neck with an arrow. He obviously survived, and his army won the battle, but when he recovered from his wound, he asked the soldiers of the defeated Taeju tribe to reveal who shot his horse in the neck.
Damn.
Side note, either Genghis was using his horse's neck as a euphemism for his own injury in an attempt to conceal his injury, or possibly to smoke out a false confession. Moving along, a soldier named Zergati voluntarily confessed and told Genghis, and we paraphrase, "You got me, I did it. But if you let me live, I will serve you loyally." Genghis was impressed. He valued skill and loyalty, so he pardoned and praised Zergati, making him an officer and nicknamed him Jebe, Mongolian for both arrow and weapon. How's that for luck? It's like hitting your boss over the head with a Louisville Slugger because he swiped your idea. Then he promotes you for your candor and calls you Bat Boy at the next office happy hour. Jebe would go on to become one of the Mongols' greatest field commanders during their conquests in Asia and Europe.
J-Bay. Yeah, so, you know, Genghis Khan, they write so many stories. I don't know how accurate they are, but I love listening to them. Like, you speak up and say, yeah, I shot your horse in the neck, then he kills you because you lied to him, or he promotes you because, you know, he likes your shot or your moxie, you know, because you're willing to respect his privacy and you're a good general or a good shot, you know. So it just seems like bipolar figure. That's kind of a big part of it, where like raping and pillaging and killing is one side, but he wants to be cultured and respected. It's a very weird thing, but it's cool. It's like the real
Mongol warriors began learning how to fight and live off the land as children. When they came of age, usually around 15, they had mastered how to ride, shoot, fight, and go for days at a time without provisions. At this point in their lives, they were Genghis Khan's warriors. These young warriors were tactical and calculating, employing many war-worn strategies when it came to war. Fighting was never a simple exhibition of force. It was an evenly paced, evaluated, and considered option. The Mongols would fight using formations, proven battle game plans, and were comfortable with a bow. If no bow was on hand, then a Mongol warrior was more than comfortable and capable of using a saber or a spear to kill their enemy. No contemporary army could match a Mongol warrior's skill, bravery, and tenacity.
For a long time, bro. Riding on those horses were like riding fucking tanks around a battlefield of walking dudes. It was just insane.
Like most men in power who wielded their force with little regard for their foe, Genghis Khan was a religious man. He passed laws declaring religious freedom in conquered lands, even granted tax exemptions to places of worship. The Mongols generally had an exceptionally liberal attitude towards religion. While they subscribed to a shamanistic belief system that revered the eternal blue sky, the steppe peoples also included Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and others. No one was persecuted for their faith. Genghis Khan also had a personal interest in spirituality. He was known to pray in his tent for multiple days before important campaigns, and he often met with different religious leaders to discuss their faiths.
Yeah, so much death.
Conquering the Western Shao and Jin empires was a matter of survival for Genghis. He had no intention of war with the powerful Khwarezmid Empire in modern-day Iran, but it became inevitable after the Khwarezmian Shah executed Genghis's ambassadors to him and massacred a peaceful caravan. In a war lasting just 3 years, from 1218 to 1221, the Khwarezmid Empire was annihilated, with its population culled and its beautiful walled cities destroyed.
And they tore that shit down.
Was inflicted
That's where that fucking thing was at, right? With like math or algebra or whatever, and they just burnt all that shit up.
Battle of the Indus River, where 50,000 men, led by the Shah's son, were beaten and killed. The Mongols exacted such a toll on the Khwarezmid Empire that of its nearly 3 million people, at least 1 million were killed, usually executed methodically using swords or axes. Of course, this is all a drop in the bucket in terms of Khan's body count. Figures vary, but about 40 million people, or 10% of the world population at the time, were killed or died because of his attacks. Famine and disease killed a large portion of the people, but Genghis wiped out any city or country that opposed him.
Damn.
After destroying the Khwarezmid Empire, Genghis split his army into 2 units. One unit, which he led personally, headed back to Mongolia, but not before laying waste to northern India. The other unit, made up of 2 packs of soldiers, were led by Sabbatai and Jebe. They headed west toward what's now Russia, pursuing the Khwarezmian Shah. They didn't catch him, but they made history anyway.
This map is confusing me because the arrows aren't pointing to where they're going, but I understand what's happening now.
In a raid of so much power and destructiveness that it's never been equaled, 2 of Genghis's dogs of war sacked Georgia Armenia, and defeated a gigantic KFN Rus force at the legendary Battle of the Kalka River.
Kalka River,
In keeping with Mongol tradition, the Russian princes who resisted were crushed to death under a platform, their blood never spilling because, you know, royal blood. Hundreds of thousands of Russian peasants were slaughtered, and Russia itself would take centuries to recover from this Mongol invasion, and its geography was permanently changed. It's only fitting that Genghis Khan's death is as shrouded in as much mystery as the basic details of his personal life. The common tale says he died in August 1227 during the sack of the Western Jai capital around the age of 64 or 65 after injuring himself from falling off a horse while hunting. Other sources list everything from malaria to an arrow wound in the knee during the battle. One chronicle even says he was murdered by a Western Jai princess he was attempting to add to his harem. After his death, the traditional Kurultai was held, meaning all Mongol conquests were put on hold, sort of like a truce between the Hatfield and McCoys, and all leaders met at the Anan River. Bypassing Jogi, whose parentage was never confirmed, they elected Genghis' third son, Ogadai, as the new Khan.
Okay, so we're gonna end it there. I know there's like maybe one or two left, but I have to head out now to go see Skitten before she is heading home. So I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for joining me. And any more history videos you guys want to see, feel free to drop them in the chat. I have a couple that have to come up on the Patreon first, but will be dropped here soon after. I'll holla at y'all. Peace.